So up the next morning, I wanted to let these surfaces kind of adhere to each other overnight. It was, above 40 overnight, so should be fine. Long story short, since I'm not really a carpentry person, what I decided to do was basically, put the panels, the Z brackets on, get the bolts, get the washers, run them through this aluminum channel. Is that the right thing, that channel? I'm talking about this along the side here. You can see it's silver here. This is a question mark. I don't know what you're supposed to do if you're a person that doesn't want to run these all the way through the, through the roof of your vehicle. I didn't want to do that. So that's what I decided to do. Aluminum channels, I'll show you that product in a little bit. And then basically this tape, this expensive tape, double-sided, and then we're going to follow it up with this $25, it's like epoxy adhesive. So, and then maybe some liquid nails from Lowe's after that. But I mean, so far, fine, good. Now I got to take it apart so I can access probably the back electricals and then try to wire that in. So, I mean, but no problem. Like, again, the point is like, you don't have to be great at this stuff. They give you instructions. There's videos, although the Renogy videos were like, could be better. But they were good enough. It's not rocket science. You're gonna wanna learn a little bit about DC electricity. What's the difference between series wiring versus parallel wiring? Basically for us, we wanna do parallel wiring. Parallel means that you can hook a bunch of things up and you keep the 12 volts that you want, because you can't put like a higher voltage into your battery. So anyway, go and learn a little bit about parallel circuits and all that jazz, and watch a few videos and you'll figure it out. I'm super confident. Okay, so I pulled this panel off, and the cool thing is that, yeah, it's just gonna be completely removable anytime I want, if I want to change things around. Also, you can slide up and down the rail. Not like there's that much wiggle room, since, I don't know, the rail is like 7 inches longer than the panel, but whatever. You can take them off easily. Now you'll see there's two different ways that I kind of attach this Z bracket, you could call it, I think is what they call it, to the frame of the solar panel. And I think this top way is not as good. I think it's better if you have gravity working in your favor, meaning that the nut would be on top, like you could see here, hopefully, that the bolt goes through from the bottom up, and then the nut is on this top side, like there. I think that's the way to do it. But anyways, I didn't unclip these, so I'm gonna clip them. And the cool thing is I think it's pretty much foolproof. So they label it with the plus and the minus very clearly. And I think that these brackets, or these connectors, you can't screw it up. Like you can see they're different. The positive has that kind of male looking thing. And the negative one is just different. So I don't think that there's gonna be any way to screw it up. Though there probably is a way, so let's just think about it as we go. Okay, so I removed those panels. I'm gonna switch those nuts and bolts around so the gravity is working in my favor. And then also this gives me access to the inside plane of those rails so that I can put some adhesive where the panel was before in my way. And then also I needed to cut the zip ties on the back of those panels in order to be able to get a hold of those and start the wiring it in process. Yeah, this is a good time to point out that I'm thinking about running some just PVC. 3/4 inch, if you use 3/4 inch PVC, it will allow you to run those cables with their connectors through there, and you'll be fine. Anyways, so then I went online, I bought this stuff called Sikaflex 715, and it's like for RV. If you read all the small print, it's for like RV roof adhesive, but it's $25 a tube for 10.1 fluid ounces. And I was like, man, I mean, am I getting conned on that? Liquid nails, heavy duty, extreme heavy duty. This is only $4 a tube. This is $25 a tube. okay, I guess I'll buy one since, you know, I really don't want those things. I was thinking, you know, when you're in a 2-lane construction zone on the highway and you blow by one of those 18-wheelers, right? Going like 65 in the lane, right? You know, 5 feet off your driver's side door, and you just get hit with that massive amount of wind. It's like, well, I don't know. I guess just for peace of mind, I'll spend the extra 25 bucks. That way I can at least tell myself, well, I don't know, I bought the good stuff. If it blows off, I mean, you don't want it to blow off, but it's like, you know, I bought the good stuff. Otherwise, if you don't want to just, if you can't live with that, then you're going to have to go ahead and drill some holes through the roof, which, yeah, I'm not ready to do that yet. So I'll probably start with this and then maybe cover it with this later. That's probably what I'll do. Okay, so initially this whole idea of connecting solar panels in parallel and then running them to your charge controller and to your battery could seem a little bit confusing because the instructions aren't so great. So we're gonna work it backwards piece by piece, starting with what we know. So one of the first things you know is that on the back of each panel, there's 2 wires, and nicely they label them for you, positive and negative. And you'll notice that the positive have this kind of, most people call it like a male connector, and the negative, okay, you know, has the female connector. So you're like, okay, well, and it's the same on both. So, okay, you know that. What else do you know? You know that they give you these 2 20-foot cords, and that one of them has the male. It does have a red on there, which, you know, may be a signal, but, and then the other one is the exact same. When I say the exact same, the ends are the same. These are going to go into your charge controller, but they're not exactly labeled positive or negative. So you have 2 cords and they're different, a male and a female. And then they give you these 2 jobbies, and you're kind of like, okay, great. Like, initially you're kind of like, these are odd shaped, odd things. Which one is which? Again, you have the red. These are the positives. And then here you have the 2 negatives. I guess negatives, you can call them female. And then here you have this one male one coming out of it. So you're kind of thinking, okay, right. Well, let's just think of it like very logically. First thing you know, they want you to connect the 2 positives together, right? You know that. This and this. Okay. And they sort of make it foolproof, but they don't exactly tell you like what to do. How are you going to connect these 2 into one? Can you do it with this? You have 2 males here. No, that's not going to work. You have 1 female. How could you possibly use this piece? There's no way, I don't see any way that you would be able to connect the 2, say, positive leads through this. So it's got to be this one. So let me do that. So these just like push and clip. There's no tools required. You can just push them in there. And then if you wanted to press these, you could undo it. One of the things they say is don't undo these under a load, but positives here, comes out positive. This is all starting to make sense. Let's go do the 2 negatives. And we only have one of these left. The one with the 2 positives on the one end, and this female one on the back side. So, okay, obviously, like, that's what we're gonna use for this next piece. Okay, so now once we have these connected, these are the positives like you see here, and then these are the negatives. I mean, it has to go like this. Then we're only just left with, well, what do you do with this and this, right? And it should be very obvious. I mean, this is only gonna connect here. So you're gonna connect this in here, and this is obviously gonna be your positive line, like so. I guess that helps make it make sense. And what I would do would just be put like a little red spray paint on the back of here, and that way it's very clear once I go to hook this up to the charge controller what's going on, right? And then the same thing here. This is where this whole, oh, this is red, so it's positive, it kind of falls apart, right? Because now we know that this is going to connect into here, like that. but this is not a positive line, even though you have this little red little deal on here. It's not positive. You know that it says negative right there. So I would say using those like little red washers or rubber gaskets as a guide to, is this a, you know, a positive or a negative line, is don't do it that way. You know, it's gonna confuse you. But really, I mean, with these kits, it is pretty much foolproof. Okay, great. So, and then just a final note, these are connected positive with positive. They call it in parallel, and in parallel keeps your voltage the same, 12 volts throughout the whole system, which is very important because when you have the voltage coming into your 12 volt battery, it needs to be 12 volts. It can't be 24 volts. If you wire it, as they call it, in series, which is a totally different setup, which is not that complicated either, but anyways, it's gonna jump your voltage from 12 to 24. You don't want to do that. You want a 12 volt system from beginning to end. So that's why you're gonna wire it in parallel. Okay, so I guess if it didn't make sense before, I just decided to spray paint my lines, the positives, in case those little, you know, these little sticker things fly off or get wet. You know they will. So I just spray painted these parts, right? It's not gonna affect it, in case I need to take it apart at any point in the future. And then I also did it here. Oh, that'll just make it super easy in the future. I get anxious about this stuff, and like, I don't want to go and, you know, watch a bunch of YouTube videos a year from now or 6 months from now and be like, what? You know, so that'll be easier. Okay, so of course there's like a million little tricks, but I think having a headlamp that has like an adjustable pivot is super helpful, especially when you're working in these dark places. The other thing that really pays off nicely, now you can see a lot better that red spray paint shows up super great. Now this line is not connected. You don't want to actually do that first. That's a huge thing. See, I almost screwed up. But the first thing you want to do is, I'm just getting this in place. I'll probably move it later, but you want to connect your charge controller to your battery. They're going to give you these two, and luckily on this one, the clamps are the same, so you don't have to worry that much. But again, having the paint, I mean, no one's going to see that, man. No one's going to care. So, or if you care that much, you can scrape it off later, but at least it doesn't end up wasting a bunch of time and money because you hooked it up wrong. So put it on here, and it comes with these nuts, so that'll be great. So I'll connect this here first and we'll get the charge controller going. Really, it's just like a battery powered appliance. I mean, it's like not that big a deal. And then we'll leave these normal posts for our inverter later, because it has the alligator clips, a lot of people like to call them, or just these clamps. Okay, great. Yeah, they're Phillips head screws. There's 4 of them. And you're just inserting it in from the bottom, and there's 4 ports, there's 4 screws. I mean, they label it very clearly, like which port is going to go with which one. So you're just taking the positive from the battery into the positive, the negative from the battery into the negative. So anyway, it's fairly simple.